Hi, my name is Margery Wakefield, and I'm here to talk more about the Church of Scientology. I was a member of Scientology from October of 1968 until February of 1980, approximately 12 years. I know that seems like a long time ago, but I can assure you that not much about Scientology has changed over the years. Yesterday I was driving down Colfax Avenue in Denver and I noticed a big billboard saying Scientology, find out about it for yourself. I'm here to maybe help you shortcut that process. I'm going to talk about my experiences with Scientology. And first of all, I want to say, if you're curious about Scientology, what I would say to you is if you want to be hypnotized, brainwashed, and give away all your money to someone else, by all means investigate the Church of Scientology, because they will do all those things for you. That's what happened to me. I got into Scientology because I had psychological problems, and I was told by a friend that Scientology was the psychiatry of the future, and I believed her. I was desperate to find an answer for my problems, and desperate people are very welcome in Scientology. Actually, they have a drill to get people into Scientology. It has 4 steps called contact, handle, find the ruin, and bring to understanding. So what a Scientologist will do when you go to their center is first of all say hello to you, and then find out if you have any preconceptions about Scientology and handle those, and then find out what it is in your life that you would give anything to have solved. And they would then bring you to the understanding that Scientology and Scientology alone has the answer to that problem. My problem was psychological. I was having anxiety attacks as a teenager. And the person who got me in told me that this was 1,000 years advance of psychiatry, and that it could indeed handle my problems, and that there was 100% money back guarantee. So I fell for it. She also told me many interesting things about Scientology. Her name was Jenny, by the way. She told me that the center of Scientology, the organization, was called the Sea Organization, or the Sea Org, and that young people lived on ships with L. Ron Hubbard and sailed around the world spreading the gospel of Scientology to different countries and continents. It sounded like a great adventure to me. I was 19 and very naive and very idealistic. She went on to explain that Scientology was a new way of looking at life, that with Scientology you could learn to leave your body and travel around the universe and visit other planets, and also that when you died, that instead of going to heaven or the other place, you went to some place called an implant station, where your memories of your past life were erased and you were programmed for a new life and sent to pick up a new body. That's called the between lives implant theory. So that was new to me, and she also promised that with Scientology auditing or counseling, I could learn how not to go back to the implant stations between lives, and I could live forever as a free being. So I was a freshman in college and very naive, as I said, being from a little town, and I thought, this is really different. So I jumped at the bait and became a Scientologist. 12 years later, I emerged from Scientology with nothing but the clothes on my back, about $60,000 poorer, and with a whole bunch of useless certificates. And a lot occurred to me in those 12 years. I'll just mention a few things. I worked at a place called Celebrity Center. This is where celebrities go to get Scientology counseling. A lot of people ask, why do all these celebrities, like Tom Cruise and John Travolta and Kirstie Alley and others, get into Scientology? Well, my answer is they're just like anybody else. They have problems in their lives just like we do. And of course, Scientology has the answer to those problems. They're no different from you and me, basically. It's just that in Scientology they're treated better than the rank and file member in Scientology. I worked at Celebrity Center. It was a center for artists, and for a young person it was a really groovy place to be. People were writing poetry, painting pictures, playing the piano, playing instruments, doing all sorts of artistic things in this center, and meanwhile taking Scientology training and auditing. And it was a lot of fun. We had something called Poetry and Coffee by candlelight every night, where people would display what they'd done during the day. My first Christmas in Scientology, I was very lonely. I was living in a house with about 50 other people, and our space was cordoned off by nylon cord, and we had sheets for dividers, and I had a mattress on the floor, a blanket, and I was lying there on Christmas Day feeling very depressed. And there was a young man lying in the space next to me, and one thing led to another, and pretty soon, being young and adventurous, the inevitable happened. A few weeks later, I found out that I was pregnant. I was forced to have my first abortion in Scientology. Scientology does not like children. They do not value children. And a child was considered an unwanted problem for them, and I was sent to Watts in Los Angeles to have my first of 6 abortions in Scientology. I worked for several years as kind of a gopher for one of the executives in Scientology. I never was really a good Scientologist. I didn't progress very rapidly, and I was always in trouble because I would question things. And one thing that you do not do in Scientology is question anything. L. Ron Hubbard, the auditing technology, or anything that you read or see or do in Scientology. So I was always getting into trouble. One time I got into trouble and I was sent into the prison system in Scientology, which is called the RPF, or Rehabilitation Project Force. I was sent to live on a ship in Long Beach, California, and sentenced to hard labor. And we did. We cleaned the ship every day. We did invading sailor drills, and we cleaned the ship from top to bottom every day. We worked in the galley. It was hard work. We did not sleep. We were often awakened in the middle of the night to go on cruises, and we had to get up and run the ship. So I did get my chance to be on a ship, but never with L. Ron Hubbard. Actually, I never met L. Ron Hubbard when I was in Scientology. I always wanted to. It was my greatest dream. Now, it's my greatest nightmare, and I'm glad that I never met him. Heresy. One time I got into trouble in Scientology, and my punishment was to break into the nearby offices of the American Psychiatric Association and steal their membership records, which I did. I was given bulletins to read on casing a joint and breaking into locks and other things, and I did those things, broke into the American Psychiatric Association and stole their membership records and took them back to the organization. In another case, I was doing some volunteer work for the Guardian's Office, which is now called the Office of Special Affairs, and there were 2 Scientologists that had defected and were threatening to expose Scientology's upper levels, or the secret upper levels of Scientology. So we had a meeting in the GO, now OSA. In that meeting, we planned how we were going to murder these 2 people. One of them, Paulette Cooper, who had written a book critical of Scientology, was to be shot in the head. The other man, named Michael Meisner, who was defecting to the FBI with the secret materials, was to be taken out to sea with weights tied around him and deep sixed, which is a word for drowned. I've heard that Michael got away, but nobody's ever heard of him since, so I don't really know what happened to him. Paulette Cooper, there was an attempt, apparently, to shoot her, except they mistakenly got her cousin instead of her, and the gun misfired, and Paulette is alive and well and happy today. At the end of 12 years, I was really in trouble. I was having a nervous breakdown, in fact. The stress of the 12 years got to me. I was in Clearwater, Florida, where they have one of their main bases. I was finally locked in a room in a hotel, in the Fort Harrison Hotel, which is their hotel. I was kept under guard and then flown home to Madison, Wisconsin, where I hadn't seen my parents for 12 years, and what they call offloaded or excommunicated. And that's pretty much the end of my story in Scientology.